Alternating between periods of fasting and eating normally is a popular weight loss strategy, but new data suggests it's no more successful than regular diets. Researchers in Argentina compared the effectiveness of intermittent fasting to more traditional methods like reducing calories and eating healthier and found little to no difference. All right, we're joined now by Rhiannon Lambert, nutritionist and author of the Fibre Formula. Rhiannon, morning to you. I was surprised when I read this in the paper that there's no difference between intermittent fasting and regular diets, considering nearly everyone I know has been doing intermittent fasting for a while now.
I think that's the interesting part, is that it became such a huge social media or media hype, didn't it? Fasting was kind of hailed as the panacea of health. And actually what registered nutritionists like myself and dietitians have been saying for over a decade is that this is not a magic bullet, and that it's your overall diet quality. It's how much fibre, plants, diversity, the amount of food you get that matters long term. It's something you can stick to. A lot of people find that things like fasting can actually trigger disordered eating patterns.
Let's talk about that then. So what are some of the risks of denying yourself food for days?
I think the biggest thing at the moment is only 4% of us in the UK hit our fibre targets. We're one of the lowest countries in the world. So you start by restricting food. You're massively restricting nutrition, multivitamins that people think about, micronutrients on top of the fibre intake. That's not good for starters. Second of all, this can then inhibit the fact that you need to be getting satiety from food. You need to feel really satisfied by your meals.
You've got to feel like you've eaten something.
You've got to feel like you've eaten.
Yeah.
And if you're holding out and then you've got something that's really healthy, because that's the one meal you're having that day to hit those nutrient goals, and it's not quite satisfying, then you're going to be craving more food, and it can trigger a binge restrict cycle where you restrict, then you overeat, and then you feel perhaps guilty or shameful and you restrict again. So for many people, it won't fit into their lifestyle or their work. Imagine if you're a surgeon in a hospital, a construction worker, someone that works all hours and you're being told, don't eat food. Would you want your doctor in a hospital to not be eating?
Absolutely not those professions. I met some grumpy journalists who've been doing it, who have had a bad day because they haven't been eating. Look, you mentioned sort of those feelings of guilt and shame after doing it. What about the feeling that some people get when they're fasting, of sort of that monk-like feeling that, you're restricting yourself and it's somehow making you stronger?
The euphoria.
Yeah.
I've seen this in my nutrition clinic over the last decade. Now, I will caveat by saying fasting works for some people. It will be a small group of people and it's very individual. But what happens when we go into almost a starvation type mode or a very restrictive mode is that our brain goes into protection mode. And it says, I'm going to help you with this feeling of protection. I'm going to make you feel very good at that period to protect your body from that feeling of starvation, because effectively you're starving your gut microbes from doing the amazing jobs the bacteria in your gut needs to do. There's so much research now, if you feed that well, that plays a role in our mental health as well. But for a lot of people, control and psychology is a huge factor. Psychology and nutrition work really closely together, which is why it's not a black and white picture. It's a really big one for so many people, looking at what works for them and doesn't trigger that disordered habit of food.
I wrote down the word fad about it, and you talked about it sort of being trendy on social media. How much of that is part of it? I mean, and I suppose if we go back, we can think about like Atkins diets, we can think about like Weight Watchers, is that a fair one to talk about? Often through time, there are these moments where there are these newfangled, there are these diets that people cling to. I've
seen them come and go. I've written many books on these subjects. I've seen high carb, I've seen low carb, I've seen low fat, I've seen high fat. What nutrient can we pick on next? High protein, you can't go low protein. So I feel that we're just always searching for an answer, whereas the really easy answer with our diet is not the sexy sell. It's the very mundane, let's just eat a balanced plate with more fibre and plants and vegetables. And actually only a third of adults are getting their fibre a day in this country. So we're struggling. Social media detracts from the real messaging around nutrition and diet.
On those nutritious parts of our diet, the fibre that we get from fruits and vegetables, how much is cost an issue? How much is it that people can't actually afford to make sure that they get the nutritious food?
Massively. This is a huge passion project of mine, is getting this education out there that the cost of living is not helping. The food environment isn't helping. 60% of our diets are ultra-processed foods, 70% for children. We actually had the Broken Plate report come out in January 2025, and that said that it was twice as expensive to eat healthily. And on top of that as well, you have to spend...
Twice as expensive?
Twice as expensive. And you have to spend 70% of your household budget on a lower income bracket to meet the Eat Well Plate guidelines. It's not acceptable, and we really need to try and get more nutrition information out there.
Just on that then, what is being done then to encourage, well, I guess it would be government policymakers to make sure that that kind of food is cheaper and more available?
I mean, I took fibre to Parliament a week or two ago. I'm trying very hard to get the message out there that nutrition should be available to everybody, but at the moment we need more funding for more registered nutritionists and dietitians out there in the sector, and we need the food industry to massively be on board here as well as the government.
Absolutely.